The Oklahoma trip was a new experience for me. I loved it because we formed this bond within my group, and it was something we didn't expect going into it. But right away, once we got into Oklahoma, it was just like we were a little family. And it really helped because the community in Oklahoma was so hospitable. Like here on campus, we have the Benedictine values, and everyone here is really nice and hospitable to each other. But in Stroud, it was totally something different. Wherever you went, people were opening up their houses to you, giving you hugs, even though you didn't even know them. It was a life-changing experience to see how much they cared and how much God brought them together between the people who are well off and those who are scraping to get by.
It's a really rewarding experience because basically this trip is not only like one-side thing. Like you got the chance to experience different part of the city and to expose to a different population and get out of your comfort zone and learning what you normally don't have the chance to learn. There's one really interesting part. Like one day, our tutor gave us $1 and we each person, and then we explore the city by our group as a group, formed by 3 or 4 people, and then we try to find the lunch to feed ourselves. Just use the $1 thing, and finally our group ends up bought a sandwich $3 or something, and we shared and just experienced what's the maybe the difficulty other people are facing.
Gaze upon your beauty.
And Kansas City isn't unlike any other city that we've been to, and we just really were put in the part of the neighborhood where kids were deemed that they weren't going to succeed. So we really worked with the youth that were told that they're not going to make it, and so that was actually a really humbling experience to be in such a privileged school right now, and then to go to a place where these kids that we're working with, they're not going to be able to have this opportunity because society tells them that they're not going to be able to. Our group really bonded a lot over that. I think a lot of us found it really difficult to see these kids and to know that many of them will end up in jail or they will end up not graduating and living on the streets. And so we had reflections that lasted an hour and a half to 2 hours sometimes, just because it was so intense that we all wanted to share our feelings and we were talking about it constantly.
Walking in solidarity of the people of Las Terrenas, I experienced how rich those people are far beyond our society. Even though they may be living in the most unfortunate circumstances, living in the most unjust societies, they value one another, their family, their community, and their neighbors more than we value each other in our world here. The children are playing in the streets, not with toys or inanimate objects that they buy in the store frivolously like we do here. They're playing with each other and spending time with those that they love, because when all else is said and done, that's all that we have, is one another. And that's the most beautiful thing that I learned in Las Terrenas in 2011, is the value of being with those that you love.
Gaze upon your beauty. Gaze upon your beauty, Lord. Gaze upon your beauty, Lord. Gaze upon your beauty, Lord. Gaze upon your beauty, Lord.
I think that the ABE that I went on was incredibly special because it was right in our backyard in St. Cloud, and we kind of saw the web of connections and organizations and groups that comprise the support system for immigrants and refugees in St. Cloud, and that was incredibly valuable in the sense that it's social justice right next to us. But it was also special because it was very personal. We were doing service right with the people. We were teaching them math, English, helping them with computer skills. One of the women that I was working with, she couldn't pronounce the word building to save her life, but everyone in the group that we were working with laughed so much. And just the smile and joy in the faces of the immigrants and refugees that I was working with. I know that I learned more from them than they learned from me, even though I was the role of the teacher.
Gaze upon your beauty. Gaze upon your beauty.
Everyone says that once you visit New Orleans that you feel like you're a part of New Orleans and you feel like it's your city and that you belong there and that you're a native of New Orleans because it just sucks you in. And that's absolutely what happened. I come back and I try and explain why New Orleans is so special and I feel like I can't even capture it. It's so unique and so different from any place in the entire world, and it's been a place that has experienced so much hurt and so much damage, and yet the people take such a pride in their city and take such pride in the people that come to visit their city. It's a place of extreme poverty and segregation, in that on one street you'll have these gigantic mansions and on the other side of the street it's these tiny little shacks, and I've never seen such stark differences between the haves and the have-nots, and yet the people don't even really seem to mind as long as they're all a part of New Orleans because they're so proud of their city.
The best thing I think about the Chimbote group or the Chimbote trip was that we got to work with the community so much. I had done a different ABE trip in the past and we saw poverty, but in this situation we had children asking us to give them our tennis shoes because they didn't have a pair of tennis shoes. During our trip we got to take the children with disabilities to the beach, which they don't get to be taken to the beach very often. It's a little out of town but not too far, but we used a bus to get them there. Plus, with their disabilities, it's dangerous for a lot of people to be taking them to the beach. A lot of their parents, I guess, don't know how to swim or may not be able to take care of them in the water. And so the excitement for the children to be able to go to the beach and spend the day at the ocean in the water, the excitement on their face with all the adversity that they have to face with their disability plus with their poverty, that was probably the most amazing thing for me and something that I would want to keep.
Just the hard work in general, I think, really brings people together as you're working alongside each other, whether it's raking or digging an irrigation canal or painting, or all of those kind of things really help people bond, and they help form really strong groups. And then I also think just the ability to, have the afternoons to go hiking or we did a lot of reflection, and our reflections really brought us together, which, was a really neat component. Everybody brought a piece of themselves and was able to share that with the rest of the group, which then definitely helped establish really strong, deep relationships. And everybody learned a lot and could take pieces of themselves that they didn't know maybe existed before and really emphasize those and learn more about them. And also learn how they could bring back kind of this lifestyle and the simplicity that we experienced when we were in Ghost Ranch and bring it back to their everyday lives.
When I call to you,
One day I turned to one of the Guatemalan men who was working alongside of us and I said, how much longer of a work day do you have? And it was probably about maybe 4 o'clock when I said this, and he's like, oh, I'm working till 9. And so I just gained a lot of respect for the people who are there working 12-hour days, really hard work. When you're facing something that's challenging, like the task of, here's this pile of rocks, here's some wheelbarrows, there's where you need to go. You just kind of come together as a group and you bond through those experiences, sharing those experiences together. And so by the end of the trip, we had so many inside jokes, so many things that people would say, and we would just die laughing. I'm actually heading to a reunion dinner right after this, so I'm just gonna say pudding cheese.
when I call to you, you're always there.
I think my favorite memory was just getting to know my host family. Me and 2 other girls stayed with a host family in a very poor area. There was like actually to get on a normal road we had to drive through sand, and you would never expect this. Like I never expected this in the United States, but yeah, they're like pretty much in a mobile home, and it was 6 chihuahuas and 5 kids and 1 single mom living in probably a house the size of my CSB suite in Lottie. So imagine just having that plus 3 girls from the United States that they just decided to take in just to get to know. We played cards, and he had never played cards before, and we taught him how to play goldfish, and he was probably 10 years old, and it just like, there's so much love there. And just within their neighbors, we would go to their neighbors' houses a lot and their friends, and just the amount of sharing that occurs and like that community feel still, you can really feel it when you're there.
People would prefer a hand up rather than a hand out. And just, it's all kind of about human dignity, you know? There's something very different from offering to help someone than just giving them a pamphlet or a flyer. My favorite part of the trip was St. Patrick's Day. We went into town to kind of see what Cincinnati had to offer, and while we were there, we caught up with someone who we had fed at the homeless shelter there. His name was Eddie Spaghetti, and just what a character. And I think it kind of showed us, it demonstrated to us how connected we were to the community within a matter of weeks, and that we went into town to a city where we didn't know anyone, but yet were able to find someone that we had connected with and had helped. And I think that was just such a cool experience for everyone involved.